Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock here, practicing necromancer and overall career black magician, sorcerer. Tonight, I want to kind of bring something to your attention that I think is something that you need to hear. Take your time. Take your time in anything that you do because anything worthwhile is done the hard way. There is no cheat sheet. There is no easy button, especially in sorcery of any kind. No practitioner, teacher instructor is going to give you everything up front. In fact, they will not tell you their innermost secrets of their workings. Instead, they will entrust that you do the work yourself. If you need guidance, if you need instruction, sure, seek out your elders. I can tell you from my own personal experience in setting forth on the necromantic path just 5 years ago that that I personally have gone to my own instructors, my own teachers, my own elders and said, hey, I'm planning to do this type of ritual with such and such a spirit. This is what I got planned. Is there anything that you would suggest to help me benefit from this? Okay. Keep in mind, I've been a practitioner for a long time. So even though even I am going to my elders, that should say something to you. That should show you that it's a matter of humbleism. It's a matter of instruction, and that education is a key, especially in a world that is filled with popularity contests. Individuals who would be deemed as light workers, that's only duty is to limit you and to scare you into submission. By doing your own work, by delving into history, you are benefiting more from your own work than by someone else's. Let me give you a couple of examples. Earlier today, I was watching a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, just chilling out, relaxing after a long day. First, I came across Boko Leonard Imera. Now, I've been a follower of this guy for a while. I love the way he teaches, the way he instructs, and I love the way he does his videos from a Haitian Bouddhan perspective. But even he said in this video that life is about adaptation. It is about change, and that you have to be the one to adapt to your surroundings and to the events that transpire in your life. I like that. I like that. I do, because that was an honest and earnest look at any circumstance that you will come up against. And as I was scrolling down, I came across E.A. Wedding's video of his little rant that he did. It was like, I want to say it was like 8 minutes long, 8 minutes, some odd seconds long. And he ended up firing his assistant. And I was reminded how grateful I am to have the inner circle that I have of friends, instructors, and teachers, not just allies, who encourage me to do better, to be better, to do my own research and my own homework. Yes, they've given guidance. Yes, they've given instructions. But to those who truly want to seek knowledge and wisdom, you got to give it up for that. You got to do it yourself. You can't be like these wannabes that whose books remind me, you know, let me put it to you this way. When it comes to E.A. Wedding's works, How to Become a Living Gods, out of you take the complete works for an example, that he is like 9 books. Out of all 9 tomes that he put out, only two, Baneful Magic and that of the what was that book called? It was a Baneful Magic and Works of Darkness. That was the one. Those 2 books alone held a lot of truth, a lot of occult valued knowledge. Yeah, he had a tendency to rant and rave throughout them and even pretend to be a god, speak as though he was Azazel or Satan himself. But the rest of these tomes are written like something you would see out of Ghost Rider. I'm not I'm not talking Rider as in, you know, Nicolas Cage film. No. I'm talking writer, okay? As in the MPBN 30-minute ghost adventure where a spirit spoke in words to children who went on this little mystery campaign, or that of the Matchbox Kids franchise, the books. Hell, even the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys. Incredible books. I own a few of them. But I can tell you that these books are nothing more than fiction. Fiction. It would be like most of these books by E.A. Quetting. And I'm reminded every time I see one of his videos, I don't want to be like him. I don't want to sit there and be that nuts or that insane and say, hey, I am a god. You will worship me. No, I don't want you to worship me. I don't want you to worship him. I want you to worship yourself. I want you to look at yourself in an earnest and honest look and see where you see yourself in 5 to 15 years. I want you to put the work into play. I want you to take all the knowledge that you gather through your own studies, through folklore, through history, through mythology. Look at all the grimoires that have been corrupted by the JCI, the Judo Christian institutions. These Wiccan and light, pagan light workers whose you can't even get underneath any topic of occultism on a serious basis on YouTube without coming across one of these light workers trying to warn you to stay away from demonology, to warn you to not allow yourself to become acquainted with a spirit because you may or may not get possessed. Hell, you type in anything to do with necromancy, you come up with D&D games. You get video games and all this other crap, and it's like, no. If you actually got out of your own way and got serious with your studies and your practices, you will be stronger than one of these fakeries out there that's in it for popularity, numbers, and fame. Because that's all it is. I mean, look at the government, look at the church. How many times do you have to see them take hit after hit after hit before you realize that they are nothing more than con men and women trying to get you back into servitude? We live in an age where information is right here, okay? Stroke of a key. You type in the word Sith, comes up under three topics. One, obviously, the Hollywood produced Jedi enemy in that franchise. Number two, Celtic, the Sith, people of the mounds, folklore. And the other half of the Sith is known as the Siddhi, okay? And this is Scottish, also known as people of the mounds. These were these were people that were driven underground. This was a race of beings that was literally made a deal with their enemy, these light workers, to go underground. Just like looking at the Elven, you have three aspects to them. In Norse, Germanic, European traditions, you have the light, which is those of glimmering little elven people that are full of celestial knowledge. You have known as the black elves, which are more baneful, hostile. And then you have the dark elves, whose only goal is to enlighten, bring things back to the way they were. And due to the enemy camps, they have been seen as the Coco Daemon in Greek mythology. They've been linked as to Azazel, to Satan, even to Lucifer himself. But yet, how would you know this if you did not do your own research? Archaeology, okay? Archaeology, historical accounts, mythology, and yes, even folklore. When you get into all this stuff and you start cross referencing, you come across links and commonalities that show you the truth. There's a lot of dogma out there, ladies and gentlemen. And I will tell you that point blank. But I'm not in this for popularity. I'm not here to be liked. When I do a video, I do it from an educational perspective because I want to enlighten, not just to use this as a living journal, a grimoire of what I've been doing for 14 years right here live on my personal channel. I've watched my channel grow over 14 years. I think now I'm over, what's it, like 600, I think, subscribers. But that doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. If if you like what I do and what I'm about, cool. Feel free to hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you can get notified when I do more videos. But nobody's twisting your arm. Nobody's telling you what to believe and what not to believe. I simply give you the sources for you to go and check out for yourself. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't show you my own personal methods of doing rituals and rites because that would be decreasing my power, my personal power. Even Boko Leonard Amara said that. Okay, and that's saying something when individuals from other religions, other philosophies and practices are come from, literally, how should I say this? They are confirming what you're saying. He said something similar first. Here I am saying it. And it's true because of the fact that I was reading a PDF that I received about 5 years ago, and it kind of got me thinking about this entire world. I look at where I was 5 years ago compared to where I am today. My cell phone updated last night, about 1:30 a.m. Now I can't even get onto Google Docs where all my files and everything is on this thing. It wants me to create a personalized account and or a business account when I already have an account. But yet it won't let me go beyond that. Okay? But yet I can get underneath my laptop and get right onto my account like it's nothing. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to say here is because I can sit there and pick up a book for say $20 up at Books of a Million. Technology for dummies. And yes, I just referred to myself as a dummy because when it comes to technology, I'm not that smart when it comes to technology, such as laptops or cell phones. Okay. I only know a little bit to get by. Okay. But the one thing that I've learned in the last 5 years is that you have to adapt. My better half, a woman who not not just gave me a son, an heir to my lineage, but she drives me nuts. Literally, she drives me nuts. Completely infuriates me at times. But the one thing I can say is that she's a good woman. She really is. And one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. And here's the thing. Over the last couple of years, she has slowly introduced me to technology. She has been slowly teaching me how to work the printer, how to, like yesterday, just out of an example, she showed me how to clear out a paper jam in the printer. Okay. I thought I was doing it right, and it turned out I did it completely wrong. Okay. So I had to adapt, I had to grow and learn. Okay. And that's part of being an occultist. That is part of being a practitioner of the dark arts. You have to learn to grow. It is not always pretty. I believe it was Joseph Nunn, aka Bohemoth X, that said it best in a video recently where not everything the spirits show you is going to be pretty. It's not going to be nice. It's going to be up in your face and brutally honest at times. Other times it's going to be selective. And you know what? Such is life, right? Well, I've been working with a spirit now for about 3 years, on a dedicated level, and the spirit has shown me a lot of things about vile magics. And what's ironic here is I'm not permitted to speak on a lot of it, but I have shown you a few things that I am allowed to discuss with you. You see, this is what I mean by adaptation. It's about doing what the spirits want, but also in a mutually beneficial way. You've got to work with them and benefit them just as much as they do with you. Just like any relationship with your partner. Okay. And if you're not willing to adapt and if you're not willing to grow and learn, then what's the point of doing it? We've watched the church for 2,500 years do the same stick. For almost 14 years now, I've done the same exact thing until an individual came to me, posted on one of my videos that I need to reform my channel. Basically, the way he put it was that I've been doing the same old stick. He was right. But I was also in the middle of a series that I didn't want to stop doing until it was over. Then I could take some time and refurnish, rededicate myself, and really put forth the knowledge that I really want to do. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm not a tech whiz. I'm really not. So that's probably why this $350 computer that's in my lap right now, the black casing underneath has a crack in it about like that because I ended up getting frustrated with it and drew off and punched it. Thing flipped over a couple of times and kind of cracked. But you know what? That's me. I don't like technology, but I'm being forced through the world to use it. Why? Because everything's becoming digital. I recently learned how to do DoorDash. That's right, I set up my own account and I did it myself. 43 years old, learning how to do DoorDash. See what I mean? Adaptation, growth, maturity. This is stuff that any serious practitioner is going to need to go through. Be willing to sacrifice to learn. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. In fact, it is going to be raw, downright bloody and raw. You're going to have hard times. You're going to have points where you want to quit and walk away. But I'm still here. I'm still learning and I'm still growing. I may have stepped back from a lot of social media platforms. I may have stepped back from the world, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop practicing or doing what I love doing. I love working with these spirits and I love performing magic. I love learning. And as it was pointed out a couple years ago, about a year or two ago, this one particular path is something that would benefit me greatly. And I look back at that and I'm glad that my elder and my teacher put me on this path because it is a learning curve. And it's time to continue to remember that we're not better than anyone else. If we look at the old definitions of witch and warlock, they were the keepers of wisdom. They were the keepers of secrets, sacred knowledge. Now, how did they get that wisdom and that level of knowledge if they did not experiment and put the work forth themselves? They didn't have technology, at least what we know today. In fact, they went out and learned the brutal hard way, not just from the spirits that they worked with. And it cost many of them their lives because they chose to become the adversary and stand firm in their beliefs against an overwhelming onslaught by the church. If you go into Nicholas Remy's book of demonology, you will have dates and accounts, not just objects found on these witches and warlocks that were sentenced to death, imprisonment, and or torture. You go into the discovery of witchcraft by Nicholas Remy, not Nicholas Remy, but Reginald Scott, and you'll see the exact same thing, but also the spirits that were there. It's amazing that every time I step foot either into demonology, into Haitian Voodoo, back into Santeria or Pedo Mayumbi, hell, even practicing as a necromancer, I look back at my time as a traditional and theistic and spiritual Satanist, and I wonder, why did I not grow beyond this until the last 5 years? I look at this and I see I was gaining knowledge, but I was not applying it to my life. I had no reason to apply it to my life, which is probably why there was a lot of drama in the past. So when I came on this new path, it was one that pissed off a few people, but that's on them because they're the ones that got butthurt. Today, I can look at you and say, I'm not going to lower my morals or corrupt my morals for you. I'm not going to lower my standards because you don't want to get off your ass and learn. I'm not going to do the work for you. I will put the sources out there for you. I will put the references there for you. And I will give you a brief history from a wide selection of sources. But you got to be the one to get off your butt and go out and do it. You got to go out and delve into it because that's the only way you are going to grow. That is the only way you're going to evolve. A couple of months ago, I went to my elders and I said, I'm going to be pulling away from social media. I'm going to be leaving behind social media. At least that's the way I was expecting it to go. So about 2 months later, about a month later, 2 months later area, it was interesting because the spirits that I was working with led me into a path that I needed to speak on. And then, surprise, surprise, here I am working with some demons that I've worked with on individual levels. According to How to Become a Living God, they are the infernal gatekeepers. Now, the only two that I've never worked with was Baal, Baal, and that of a Maimon. Never worked with those two. Never really had a need for it. I've worked with everyone else. From the nine kings of the Goetia, I've had a lot of beneficial degrees with the nine infernal gatekeepers, but I've also had beneficial encounters with these other beings on individual levels from the gatekeepers. So the other day, the day before yesterday, I ended up posting some photos, okay, in a group on Facebook just for kind of just say, hey, I'm still here, just posting, keep things up. Well, all I got was slander from these wannabes because they didn't understand what they were preaching on. It was just that mutual gangbang, so to speak, that herd conformity. And this is what I mean by reverse Christianity. All they're doing is playing the bad guy role that Anton Zandler wrote in the Satanic Bible. Okay, not just the his essays of the Devil's Notebook or that of Satan Speaks. Now, what's interesting here is that seriously, lined notebook paper. Oh my God, how original, right? Well, it's not going to work because it's lined. Well, if you actually done your homework, virgin parchment paper means any kind of paper that has never been used before. Imagine that, right? Wow. Except for I didn't say that to them. I just let them believe whatever the hell they want to believe. I'm not going to get into a pissing contest with them. So here I am tonight, lounging in bed because I got to be to work in, well, roughly about 6, 7 hours. I got to be up. See, it's almost 10 p.m. here. I got to be up at roughly around 5 a.m. to be to work by 6. So I wanted to kind of just express this and kind of just say, hey, anything worth doing is worth suffering for. You know, I have a lot of respect for the Christians in my area where I've been living for the last 10 years because most of them respect me. They've come to realize I'm not somebody that they want to piss off. I'm somebody that they don't want to fuck with because I will put them in their place. They've never gone up against somebody like me. And they've told me this to my face. They will come up to me and say, "Hey, do you mind if we pray for you?" I mean, we realize that you don't believe what we do, but we're just out here, praying for people. It's like, yeah, feel free. I don't give a shit. It's their belief, but at least they had the balls to ask and not just do it behind your back. You know what I'm saying? They're not sitting there condemning you for your beliefs. No. In fact, they they are literally respecting your beliefs. But we still live in a world that is Christianized dominance. And even though we've had all these amazing things happen, from government officials being persecuted to business and corporate espionage being, well, dealt with from a legal perspective. Corrupt cops are being dealt with. Christians and Catholics are being nailed and brought up on criminal charges for various different things. This is unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this, well, since the dawn of Christianity, really. So, I mean, if you think about it, there's still a lot of change, but mostly it's still Christian dominated because of that brainwashing. A lot of people are still living in that dogma of segregation. They're still living their lives in a state of do as I tell you, not as I do. Okay? Who gives a shit what other people think? Just be you. Be true to who you are. That's all I got to say. Be true to who you are. Okay? You want to be like these other fakes, these white light practitioners, and be a part of the herd conformity playing the bad guy role? Feel free. It's not going to amount to much. Like I said, I've got maybe 5, 6, maybe almost 700 followers. I think it's like 700 followers, I think. Actually, let me check that real fast. And I can give you an exact amount. My channel, 657 subscribers with 656 videos total. Okay? Does this mean I'm better than you? No. It just means I've been applying myself to the work, and I've been benefiting it when I apply it to my life. I look at where I was 10 years ago. I didn't have an apartment. Hell, I was traveling from one side of this country to the other. I was hanging out with crowds that I look back now and wonder, why the hell did I associate with these people? How the hell am I still alive? Okay. I mean, even my own mother, who believes in a Christian God, sits there and says, I don't care what you believe in, as long as you're happy. That's all that matters. But she's even gone as far as said, you must have some kind of guardian angel watching over your ass. Things that things that should have left me stranded, things that should have, well, either injured me or killed me, never took place. For an example, about 10 years ago, I went from Maine to Vivi, Indiana to South Tucson and back. By the time I hit Oklahoma, even Missouri, I couldn't even go in reverse. I had to seriously floor the vehicle just to go in reverse. It turned out I was metal on metal, meaning no brake pads, but yet my car stopped at every turn. An officer could have nailed me with a going 90 in a 55-mile-an-hour construction zone. I got off with a warning because I was going from South Tucson to Maine, where I was moving to, only to turn around and move to Texas. Okay, so and just this year alone, I was driving my new car, a 2016 Kia Sorento, and I'm talking fully loaded. Most of these dials, I have no fucking clue what they do. In fact, I just realized how to make phone calls on my steering column. Not mentioning turn the volume up and down and change songs on my stereo just from my steering column. Now, what's interesting here is I've been driving this vehicle for about three months now, and it was just all of a sudden the traction light was coming on. You know, the Omega symbol was coming on, and it felt like a 747 going down a fucking runway. You know, and it turned out that my tire was getting ready to fall off. It never did. So in essence, I do have a unholy guardian demon, some kind of spirit that is watching over me, protecting me. Or it could have been just simply bad luck, depending on, good luck, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, I like to think that I have a spirit that's watching over me, be it an ancestor, be it a demonic entity, be it an Orisha or Loa. But like I said, stepping on the field of necromancy, this knowledge has taken me all over the world, including philosophies. Personally, I relate to Japanese culture, love their philosophy, specifically that of Bushido. And I can tell you, I've learned more in 5 years than I did in the 30 years prior. But I see how these spirits have literally led me full circle, full circle. And I realize now why I became an ordained minister, only to do an entire essay of 4,000 plus words just on the priesthoods of ancient cultures. ending with that of the Dukan of Indonesia, shamanism. And I added this to two groups. My group on Facebook, which is specifically for the path that I follow, and it's for the group that I'm associated with. But the other one is strictly for necromancy only, and it's called Mastering Necromancy. And it's owned by a friend of mine. So, and yes, I'm an admin in her group. So, and she's reminded me several times, I'm an admin. I need to be more productive in the group. So it's like, yeah, I haven't been getting on as much lately. I don't know if you've noticed. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a learning curve. And I realized that I don't need the world, but the world needs me. And a friend of mine said, if you look at your area, how many of your kind is there? As far as I know, I'm the only necromancer in Bangor, Maine. Bangor, Maine. I'm the only necromancer here. You have pagans, you have Wiccans, you have a shitload of fucking Christians, few atheists. But as far as I know, I'm the only necromancer here. And I was talking with a group of individuals, and it was funny because these guys like Dragon Ball Z. And I get a kick out of that because of the martial arts aspect. Anybody who's studied martial arts or military forms of martial arts, self defense of any kind, will tell you Dragon Ball Z is a joke, but it's for kids. They love it. My son loves it. You know, he's into Batman, Spider Man, Thor, you know, even the Hulk. And it's funny because of the fact that as we were talking, if you compare yourself to Hollywood produced films, such as Dragon Ball, I'm the destroyer. I'm Beerus, basically, to these white lighters, these Kais. Okay? I'm feared because of what I do and what I practice. And it was interesting because when you realize this, there's a reason why they respect you. There's a reason why they stay away from you. You have earned their respect on one hand, but due to their teachings and their upbringings, they fear what they don't understand. This is a natural thing. And as I posted on Facebook a little while ago, humanity doesn't need an excuse to go to war. They don't need an excuse to commit crimes against humanity, such as criminal behavior, criminal mischief, you know, plagiarism, or hell, even bashing somebody over the internet. You know, they don't need any excuse for this shit. It's just in their nature. They've been brought up in dogma, and until they're ready to get out from underneath their own feet, that's all they're going to do. You're going to have the news outlets posting, "Oh my god, this person was associated with Bog." Well, guess what? Now we've got Bog being kicked off Facebook, being kicked off YouTube, getting kicked off Instagram, and then you got the implosion of Bog members, you know, the little internal civil war that they've had. Which brings me right back to the video I watched earlier. See what I mean? Full circle. Now, I don't see myself as a god. I don't see myself as being superior. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about ego or popularity. Knowledge and education is what matters to me. Putting forth truth, that's what matters to me. Keeping the content pure, that is what matters to me. Okay? If you want to be like me, cool. You know, always back up what you preach with numerous sources. and always make yourself available to the public. Stick by your morals, stick by your creeds, and do what you do best. Be you. Okay? Daisy Duke. I did notice you posted a couple of times over here on the chat section. And it's nice to meet you too. Another occult channel. Which one? I've been on a couple. I've been interviewed by a couple as well. So if it's the one I think it may be Dark Sorcery because I was on there for a long time with D.H. Thorne, Alfredo Martinez, and a few others. Ah, actually, that's coming along slowly. I've been, how should I say this? I created a cloak, okay, and the material I made, well, let's just say it came out horribly. Basically, something that was meant to fit me would probably fit a 13-year-old. Yeah, it came out that bad. The freaking hood was smaller around the neck than it should have been, and that kind of that was my first attempt on making a cloak, and it bombed miserably. So I ended up going out and I picked up a. I was what? Well, first, let me put it to you this way. After seeing the outcome of my last cloak, I did have the other one repaired, um, and it came out perfectly. So I still have my old cloak, and I'm going to be using that for a while more until I get this new one up and running. So I started watching YouTube channels on how to create cloaks. There's a lot of different types of cloaks out there, and there's a lot of different videos on it. So I went down through a few of them, and there was one that the guy really talked about. What was that topic? Cosplay. Cosplay. Okay, and he went through different eras of cloaks, and there was one that spoke to me personally. So I started doing research into it, and I wanted something that didn't require a lot of sewing this time. Okay. And I think that's where I fucked up with the other one is because I did a lot of sewing and a lot of trimming. That and the fact that I used satin. Okay. And satin really shrinks as and frays. So I think that's a couple of the reasons why I fucked that one up. So I moved on to a different material and I wanted something that's going to be, how should I say this? Weatherproof, but also keep the weather out, especially during the spring and the fall. You know, because we have a lot of different weather systems that move through high winds, heavy rain, you name it, it's there, not just a blistering cold. So I started doing my research into these videos and taking notes, and I found one that was very cheap. Okay, basically, it was a rolled up blanket, and the video turns out it was from last year. So I'm about a year too late on that video. But, but as I talked to a woman that works at Walmart, I said, "Yeah, this girl that did this cloak on YouTube," and I showed her the video. I showed her the material that was used, and she says, "Oh yeah, that's over here in Betty." I'm like, "Really? Figured it would be in arts and crafts, you know?" Nope, it was actually in. It was literally over in Bedding. So, Stephen Delmo, welcome to the channel. So, anyways, um, she showed me the material that the girl had mentioned in her video. And she says, "What are you doing with it?" And I explained to her, I said, "This is what I'm doing." And so she says, "Okay." when you get it out and you're ready to add more material, especially if you're going to use, say, for example, fishnet inside, I would recommend using something with weight because it will, the fishnet, when you add it to it, will apply more sturdiness, but also some flexibility within the cloak itself, but it will also crunch up. So in this case, you're welcome, Stephen. So in this case, she says, I would recommend using some kind of rope that would act as a weight to hold it down so it doesn't bunch up. And I'm like, okay. When I get ready to do that aspect, I will. So I ended up buying the material. Okay, I ended up buying some more paracord for like a dollar. What was it, like $1.50 something for like 2 feet of it? Okay, and I bought two of those, and then I ended up buying two of these blankets. Okay, and the blankets, according to the girl in the video, was like $8. Well, here we are a year later, price gone up. Surprise, surprise. It's like $9 and some odd on some odd cents. So I ended up buying two for like $20. So all total was roughly, with tax, roughly about $25 for both. So starting um, Tuesday of next week, I'm going to start doing that. And so that's my next project that I'm doing. Now, as you mentioned, Daisy, I did mention ball, and I haven't really started working with ball or a Maimon yet. I started with my very first official contact, which was ball. Not ball, but Belial, Belial. Okay, and he's known as the he who has no master. He's the one that gives titles and centerships and very good familiars. I've had a long relationship with this spirit, so I wanted to start there and kind of work through. So my next spirit that I'm going to be working with starting next week is a Maimon. I want to get to know him, and I want to get to know, what he's able to do and what he can benefit me with, not just forge a pact and a relationship with him to help further his agenda. Now, I'm not planning on getting into a lot of spirits because of the fact that you don't want to overwhelm or corrupt the material being put forward. You want to have at least one good spirit to work with instead of 100 fakes, 100 corrupted. So I wanted to start with Belial because I've had a good repertoire with him. I've had a good repertoire with Satan. I've had a good repertoire with Beelzebub, Asmodeus, Lucifer's Raphael, and the others. But I've never worked with Baal or a Maimon before, so this is going to be interesting for me. And like I said, I'm starting with him next week. So for right now, I'm just doing rituals solely invoking them. I'm using the music bowl, the one that you tap, it's sound bowl. It's a Tibetan sound bowl that really radiates through my chamber, my temple. And I really like the sound of it. And it kind of creates this peace, not just a peaceful bliss within the altar room, but it brings forth, the awareness, hey, I'm here. I'm acknowledging you. I'm able to call you forth. I'm invoking and evoking you into my chamber. Not just to come and work with me in my temple, but to, come into me, my heart, my mind, my body, and help me grow, help me mature, help me learn and to evolve into something better, to someone better, you know. In return, I'm willing to do the same for you. I want to continue the relationship. So this is what I've been doing this past week. And I've been using a various different types of designs. And I placed my sword, I placed my scepter, and I placed my athame in the center as a representation of Azazel, because Azazel is the teacher of alchemy. He's the one that taught men how to forge weapons and shields. Okay, so I wanted that imagery there for him as an offering, saying, "Hey, you know, I'm here still working with you. I'd like to take our relationship further. I'm inviting you into my temple. I beseech thee to come work with me." And it's really turning out very, very good. The energy in my temple, which is right to my right, by the way, right now, is very, very positive, and I like the way it's going. Now, I know at some point I'm going to come into contact with one of these spirits, and they're going to sit there and literally tell me the brutal, honest truth, and I'm expecting that, and I welcome it, because when they give criticism, it's something that you want to take to heart. It's something that you want to heed, because it's something that you're either overlooking or something that you're not um, taking into account, and they're just kind of guiding you. So I'm looking forward to this as well. So far, where it's equal grounds, it's just inviting them in, saying, "Hey, I'm calling you one by one into my ritual chamber. I'm working with you. I'm opening myself up to you. I'm opening my chamber, my home, my life to you. Come on in." Okay. But I'm also working with the spirits that I'm not permitted to speak about from my necromancy path, and I've been calling them forth as well. Namely because there's one that, because I'm working with demons, I'm calling on this one spirit, this one lady, because she has a lot of authority there and a lot of experience there, and she's really helped me understand a lot about myself over the since I started working with her back when I was working for Dunkin' Donuts. And I'm working with my patroness from both this system and demonolatry. I'm working with Astaroth as well, and as you can see, I permanently tattooed on my arm, not just my other tradition that I'm working with, but I'm putting the work in, saying, "Hey, I'm linking myself to your currents. I'm making myself available. I'm making myself into a living temple. I'm willing to evolve. I'm willing to become more. I'm willing to adapt. I'm willing to do what is needed to grow and mature. Come work with me. Let me be your apprentice, for as long as you see fit. I place myself in your hands so that I can learn from you." It's showing you that you respect their titles. It's showing that you respect them on equal terms, being they're the spirits, they're more powerful than you, but you're meeting them one on one in equal ground, not with a rod of power to force them into submission. No, that's a coward way. That's a JCI corrupted variation. I'm talking purely work with them one on one. Bring them in on equal footing. Work with them. Give them libations. Give them offerings and sacrifices. Put your time in, and you will benefit from this, as I have. And I'm definitely benefiting from this, because when I first started this, the first thing I saw was a cobra. I'm talking a king cobra that formed into a tribal spirit, and I really like that. So, and I really like that about it, because you get more done. There's an old expression: you catch more bees with honey than you do with bread. Okay, I want you to think about that for just a moment. Think about that. You catch more bees with honey than you do with bread. Why is that? Because of the nectar, right? That means growth. Look at the symbolatry behind it. Look at how you're approaching your temple. How are you approaching these spirits? And how are you offering them sacrifices? Okay? What are you willing to do for them in return? Because that gateway goes both ways. That door goes both ways. All right? But it's almost 10:30 p.m. and I've got to get up in about 6 hours, 7 hours area, and I get a long 3 days at work over the next couple of days, and then I have a day off. So have a good night. I want to thank Daisy Duke for jumping on here with me, and I want to thank Stefan Delmo for jumping on here with me. You guys are awesome. Keep up the good work, and like I said, just keep two things in mind. Whatever you preach, always back it up with numerous sources, and always make yourself available to the public. All right? Have a good night.